Hey everybody, I'm going to be doing a presentation today on how Lincoln Bramwell's book Wilderburbs relates to current environmental science and the effects that it has on modern day literature. Bramwell strongly believes that suburbs that are being created on the edge of nature are leading causes of things such as encounters with wild animals, issues with water, and how high of a risk these communities are to wildfires. A little bit about him. He is the chief historian for the United States Department of Agriculture branch of the Forest Service. The Forest Service main purpose is to do exactly what it says and to serve the forest. It's quite a lengthy job and it entails a lot. There are multiple different positions within a Forest Service. You have firefighters, you have trail workers, you have people that tend for things like snowmobile trails, hiking trails, ATV, all the above. On the fire side, you have anything from wildland firefighters to hand crews to smoke jumpers and just generally what you would see on a modern day wildfire. Bramwell is a college graduate in the environmental sciences, so he does have an educational background in what we're thinking on presenting today. And to top it all off, he was previously a wildland firefighter with the Forest Service. So he's not just a boss of a place, he is a leader of something that he has previously been a part of. Wilderburbs was originally published in 2016. 2016 was known as the hottest year on record in the entire history of the world. There were a lot of things that happened that year, such as the standoff at Standing Rock. Grizzlies in the greater upper Yellowstone ecosystem were removed off the ESL. The Flint water crisis ended, and there were many politicians worldwide that were denying climate change. So it really shows that in the time that this book was published, there was a real fear in the world and real changes that you could see occurring. Bramwell's publishment of Wilderburbs is extremely impactful on the environmental science field due to the fact that it is bringing to light what exactly is happening in the American West. You don't really see a lot of this being talked about due to the fact that a lot of people that are in these communities are wealthier. They're not paid attention to as much as far as what's going on. But it's a real crisis happening in the American West, and it grows more dangerous every year. Despite the risks, people are still moving into communities like this. And the main issues that Bramwell highlights within Wilderburbs are huge issues with the WUI, also known as the Wildland-Urban Interface. This is where these communities he's speaking about and houses that you see are coming into contact with nature. As global climates get hotter and temperatures continue to rise, the risk of drought and wildfires grows every year. And there's a huge issue with these houses in these communities not being able to maintain proper safety during wildfires. And that is part of where you see the substantial cost coming from today, is not the actual cost of fighting forest fires. It is in fact structure protection. Another issue he highlights with this is the soil and water ecology. In small communities like this, in the middle of nature, non-urban areas, you're facing the issue of not having a constant or secure water supply. a lot of these communities aren't built next to reservoirs or have anything of that nature to help protect them. So there is issues with water scarcity, and the water that is there is also facing the same fact as the soil in most of these communities, due to the fact that they are becoming polluted because there's not proper mitigation systems for the pollution to be rerouted. So they're making their way and leaching into water sources and soil. And with these communities being as far in nature as they are, there is the fact that they might be at the head of a watershed for communities farther down. And if water's polluted that high in a watershed, you face the issue of it being undrinkable for those lower. Another thing that Bramwell highlights within this book is the roadways that take to get to these communities. When they're constructed, it actually demolishes more wildlife habitat than it is useful for. And the fact that there's a extremely high wildlife mortality rate due to vehicle collisions in these areas, just because in all reality vehicles are no match for wildlife of any sorts. With the rubber and all the stuff that goes into cars, there is the potential for pollution farther than what it would just be by the houses. And the biggest thing he emphasizes on is wildlife. One of the biggest animals this is seen in is bears. Bears have an extremely strong sense of smell, and if waste management is not in place, these bears have access to just basic household trash, and they become dependent on this because it is a constant food source. And if it's not mitigated soon, then they'll rely on it more and more and lose the ability to forage by themselves. The biggest issue with these communities is that mostly the wealthy are moving to these areas to escape urban environments, and be close to nature, which we all like to be in nature. It's kind of part of human nature in itself. But these people aren't wanting day hikes or anything. They want to bring their urban luxuries and lifestyle into nature. And the more and more people do that, they create suburbs. There are whole communities with HOAs and everything being established in habitats that are not made for areas like this. You can see this happening in Aspen, Colorado, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, places in Montana, and everything else. This is not the intention, and the people that move there for the solidarity of nature are no longer able to have it due to these high luxury areas that are now turning into suburbs. As more and more people gain wealth and gain knowledge of these areas, there's the fact that these areas become urbanized. This is removing all aspects of nature, creating established areas that are urban. And that takes away the nature of the areas, the natural things that people are expecting. When these become urbanized, the people that are previously there solely to be within nature are having to go elsewhere and further evolve and establish communities in areas that were previously untouched. This is a huge issue that we're facing today in the American West, and Lincoln Bramwell really brings this to light in the book Wilderburbs. There is a lot of scientific research and everything within this book, along as firsthand experience from the author. It is a extremely well